I'm Arielle Hixson, joined by Taylour Takahashi and Taylour Paige, the stars of Boogie. Now, Taylour, tell us about your character. What inspired you to sign on to this lead role?
I think for me, it was the opportunity to shine a light in a typically underrepresented community. For me, I was always around a lot of Asian basketball players, and I know there's a lot of Asian basketball players out there. And it was just the opportunity of a lifetime to play something that is very relevant and real to me, but to show that and share that with the world, alongside some really good deep culture, New York City, hip hop, like immigrant story. Like there's so many attachment points to it that we're starting to I think we all felt it and saw it in the script. And now it's playing out on camera, and people are finally getting to see it and attach to it.
That's incredible. And I love what you said about really bringing that, I guess, identity to the screen. It's something that we all need to see. And in your character, Eleanor is our love interest in the film. And I'd say she's this modern city girl with the coolest style. I mean, why do you think it's important to showcase a different take on the typical love interest today?
Because these women exist, and because like we didn't all come to be homogenous, we came to bring variety, and like there's so much diversity in our own community. Like, we're not all the same, which is like something, I mean, that's a platitude because we know that, but like you have sometimes I feel like only in film or in books do people like conceptualize like, oh, you sound and look different than what I saw on the page or what I've seen in my life. And so, yeah, like kids have different, I mean, now like everything is being morphed, like everyone takes from one another and appreciates and makes it their own. And so she's a 17-year-old girl in Queens. There's a lot of inspiration around.
I absolutely have to agree. And you guys are both such dynamic characters, and we don't really get to see this representation ever. What do you both hope that young viewers across the world take away from this film? I absolutely loved it, but what do you hope that everyone takes away? We'll start with Boogie.
I think for me, it's people can recognize themselves in each of our characters. We've talked about it. It's everyone has their version of Boogie, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be basketball or New York City or love interest. Like it doesn't need to be that exact thing. But people have been through their versions, and I'm hoping that as an Asian American, we can break out of the stereotypical roles of doctor, kung fu, nerd, like breaking out of those things and breaking down those barriers and just understanding that like we are just real people like everybody else. We have dreams, we live these things, we're interested in these things, and for it to not be glorified or held up on a pedestal, and to just have that normalization start to happen, and for kids to not be scared to look at it and see them and be like, I can do that, and it's not to jump out the window, but it's to just understand that like there are people that look like you that are capable of doing things, and you can go and do them too. Trust.
That's amazing. And what about you, Eleanor? I'm just calling you that because I got a different.
No, it's all good. I echo what Taylour said, and just like I just hope like at the purest it's empathy, like, which is why I like want to be an actor wanting to be an actor in the first place is being able to lend yourself to the truth. Like it's a lie what we do, but like you hope that like someone can see it, internalize, and like we can like have a better world. Like, is it, it's like not that, it's like it could just be, but we make it so hard, so complicated. And yeah, that just people see themselves reflected in the humanity of it and the spirit of it. And kids, 17-year-old, 16 kids are they're the future, and they often have to undo and redo all the bullshit that we've done and that our parents did and their parents did. So hopefully it just gets to a place where we get to just exist, coexist, and enjoy and thrive, and it not be like resistance, wow, of Chinese, Taiwanese, but it shouldn't be so like over there. It's like these are real people with love and life and curiosity and interests and like trauma and all the other shit that you have too.
That's fantastic. Well, I have to say, I saw myself presented in both Boogie and Eleanor, and I really,
Yay.
yes, I appreciate both you guys. You guys
Amazing.
are both fantastic. Taylor and Taylor, incredible actors, and you all have to catch Boogie coming out very much soon. Thank you guys for speaking the Nocturnal, and catch you soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm Arielle Hixson, joined by Eddie Huang, writer and director of the film Boogie. Now, Eddie, you're often motivated to create your work through real life experiences. What inspired you to create this story?
Well, I grew up. It's in fresh off the boat, the book, and it's known. But I grew up in a family with quite a bit of violence. I remember not being able to speak about it and hiding a lot of it. And when I was 17, I watched Good Will Hunting, and I realized it's okay to talk about it. I should talk about it. And I was inspired by that film, and I said to myself when I was 17, like one day I'm gonna make a film too where I get to talk about what I went through, and hopefully it makes another kid feel less alien and enabled to talk about his feelings or her feelings. So that was the first time I really wanted to do it, and it's been a dream of mine ever since.
That's incredible that you wanted to bring that experience to the screen, especially with that reference to Good Will Hunting. Now, I mean, there are so many great scenes depicting Boogie's cross-controlled life that we really see reflected in TV and film today, from that dialogue at the dinner table to bowing down at school. Did you have any specific events that had you incorporate those parts from real life to the film?
Yeah, those scenes are all like parts of my literal life that I just like shaved off and found spots for it in the film. And the way I think about film and cinema is, you have your plot engine, and these are your scenes that keep the train moving. But in between, let's like take an exit over here. Remember that feeling in that phase of your life and that feeling there. And it's just like you order a salad and the chef starts shaving a little cheese over there, and that's how I go about it. I think the most powerful sources for art is your actual life and your actual emotions, and I try to pour as much of that in as possible.
And this is your directorial debut. How did it feel to be in the chair?
I really didn't sit in the chair much. Quite energetic running around. It was more my DP Brett Yukowicz likes the chair and the walkie-talkie, but I'm in there with the actors. I run around, and I'm not big. I give everybody a pound and a high five, and I run into the scene every time. It felt good. It really felt good, and I really thank Focus Features for believing in me and giving me this shot when nobody else would.
Well, I have to say, I've been watching you for a while. I even listened to your autobiography, Fresh Off the Boat, and you really mentioned in the beginning that you appeal to those who are confused about being American, who are just don't fit that typical box. Most of your work has been kind of focused on that audience, but what do you want people to take away from this particular film?
I love that you mentioned that, because that is what interests me the most. Is I'm curious about what it means to be an immigrant, Taiwanese, Chinese, but most importantly, American. This is the most interesting experiment going on in the world. And while race and identity and all these labels and social kind of things going on are what's going to draw people to this film, it's the humanity of the characters and these whole complex dynamic characters that is going to keep people interested in this film. Because once you get past Act One, when Boogie kneels down in that principal's office, you're really in his corner, and you're really in his heart and mind. And I think connecting with Boogie on a human level is what is going to take this conversation about race and identity to a different place, that is more about our humanity.
Well, it's such an incredible time to release this film. And I have to say, I really connected with Boogie throughout. So thank you so much for this. Everyone has got to see this. Thank you so much, Eddie Huang, for talking to me.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.